All right. Oh, we
I'm
lost.
here. I just wanted to clean my.
You were here and then you were gone.
Sorry, I just realized that it was seemed fuzzy, and I thought maybe something was on my camera lens.
You look great. Oh, no, looks good. So, all right. Well, welcome to the Willow Legal Group Coffee Chat. This is our wealth and wellness podcast and video. I guess they're called vlogs. Vlogs? I don't know. Anyways, and today we're excited to have Patricia Dubroof with us. She is a local artist to the Rockville area and the community director of community relations for Assisting Hands. Patricia's art is a true source of joy for herself and for all of those that get to experience it. She starts with a blank canvas and lets her heart lead to create an image of joy and harmony. So she spent 45 years as a creative artist and activist. She has been helping organizations and individuals create and realize their vision. So she is a community builder and has developed innovative solutions for all ages. In her role as Director of Community Relations at Assisting Hands of Potomac, Patricia artfully blends the realms of art and healing. She champions the therapeutic potential of art, using it as a powerful tool for emotional and physical well-being. And you can check out Patricia's studio of art throughout the Rockville area. It's a pop-up studios, right, Patricia?
I guess you could call it that.
So,
By appointment only.
Yeah. So welcome, Patricia. We're glad to have you with us.
Well, thank you, Lindsay and Megan, for inviting me to your coffee chat. I think it's a wonderful idea. You are brilliant women helping the community in so many good ways. And this is just another example of how you're reaching out in a creative way to different audiences. So hats off to you too. And ask me your questions.
So tell us a little bit about the work you do with your caregivers and art, and how does all of that kind of intermingle? And
so I guess the story should begin at the beginning, and that is that I was raising two children pretty much on my own in Montgomery County, and I wanted to find work that was during their school time, 9 to 3, and who's available during that time but seniors. So I ingratiated myself into different organizations that needed teachers to support these seniors through art. And that has really umbrellaed this huge amount of networking and has really changed the way we look at healthcare. At the time that I started in the 90s, that's the 1990s, there was this concept of activities, but it really hadn't been therapeutically identified scientifically. So when I came on, there were actually several research projects going on to be very clear that art makes you feel better. And now that we had this evidence-based information, we could go after grants and help institutions who were providing care for seniors to actually embrace this concept. And a few of them took it on as leading edge, I would say, communities. And now it's standard issue. So it's been fun to see over the 40 years I've been in this field, how it's gone from, what are you talking about, to, oh, we couldn't do without it. And I think that's a really interesting way to see how cultural mores change. Now, my personal work started back in those days when I was meeting all these caregivers, and they had incredible stories. Most of them were recent immigrants. Some were, raised in different parts of the country, but it gravitated towards the Washington area. And their stories really inspired me, and I wanted to honor them by making portraits of them. So I started making portraits, and now I have about 50 of caregivers. And then I got a little grant from the state of Maryland a couple of years ago to go back and interview caregivers. So I have a place in my website pdubroof.com, that you can nominate a caregiver and tell me a little bit about why you're nominating them. And then I call and I do an interview, and I have a podcast that comes out every month honoring a different caregiver. And this show has become a traveling exhibition and offers people an opportunity to have the conversation about what is caregiving, whether you're a mom, whether you're a spouse, whether you're a daughter or son now caregiving for an elder family member. There's a famous quote from Rosalind Carter, First Lady Rosalind Carter, about, you're either going to be a caregiver, you are a caregiver, you're going to need a caregiver. Somehow you're going to relate to caregiving in your lifetime.
Yeah, it's true. So, well, then build on that a little bit and tell us some more, and tell our audience some more about what's a caregiver, what's a care manager in the realm of what you do with Assisting Hands and
okay.
Heath.
So thanks for asking that. That's a good segue. So I've had this art career going on, and did a lot of consulting with organizations about using art as a healing modality. And then I had a conversation with Steve Lorberbaum at Assisting Hands Home Care, and he really liked this idea too. So we are one of the only home care companies that I know of that actually infuses our caregivers' day with creativity. We ask the caregivers to tell us what their innate abilities are. Maybe one of my favorite stories is a client that called and said, my mother loves to sing hymns. Do you have somebody who sings hymns? And we're like, maybe, we'll see. So not only can she do all the activities of daily living and knows how to help somebody with dementia or Parkinson's or MS or whatever the situation is, but we also ask them, what does your family member love? What gives them joy? And then we try to match the caregiver to that as well. So whether it's singing hymns or making collages or gardening, any of those creative paths. And so we've connected that. We've also inspired our caregivers to use that as a way to help with dementia care, because we all know that arguing with somebody with dementia is a lost cause. Yes. You have to redirect. And how do you redirect? Sometimes it's through the arts. Mm-hmm. And, just baking brownies can redirect, having a different activity going on. So we really try to help our caregivers by providing tools that will help them better manage their situations that come up, frustrating situations. So it's been super helpful.
I love that. Yeah, that's really great. Great way to kind of redirect, or rather than what it made me think of, because I haven't had to care for someone yet that has dementia, but similar to children, right? And the redirect kind of rather than fight. Well,
I was going to say you are an exceptional caregiver already of a young man. So I think you need to pat yourselves on the back. Both of you have little children, and it requires super attention. Moms are totally underrated in my book.
Redirection, right?
And lots of, I'm not arguing with you about that.
Yeah. Like pick your battles, right? How many moms? I'm not picking that one. That's whether his shoes match or not matters not to me.
No shoes on.
So I think you touched on this a little bit more, but can you speak more about what was the inspiration? What was your inspiration to become an artist? And then inspiration to kind of, as you spoke on it, to bring it to the senior community, right? Through looking for that balance that Lindsay and I strive for every day of how can we work and how can we be there for our kids and all of that. But what was your inspiration for art?
So apparently I was very happy with scissors, tapes, glue, markers, crayons in the playpen. I don't totally remember that, but I do remember that even as a preteen, I would set up studio space in the basement. And as I got older, that studio space grew and continued all through high school and into college and beyond. So I've always been an artist. It's not really something you choose. It kind of chooses you. I enjoyed the medium. My parents were supportive. I took some art classes, but mostly they let me figure out what my abilities could provide. And I got very interested in making art that made people think. And to help them think better, I did a lot of performance art in the earlier days. My paintings were 9 by 7 feet. So the people in those paintings were life size or larger. And I would write scripts and words and songs and poems that people in the audience would then read. So it was an interactive connection. There'd be some improv, nothing X-rated or anything, but lots of fun stories came from that. And I would have these evening soirees where audience members would come in, participants would come in, and they weren't just audience, they actually put on masks and performed.
Oh, cool.
And so we brought the paintings back to life, and that was a lot of fun. That was in the old days when rent in DuPont Circle was affordable, and we struggled to make the rent even then, but I think it was like $420 a month or something, including utilities.
Little different.
Of course, we didn't have cell phones then or anything, but we still had black and white TV, but that was only by choice. So I think the fun part about being an artist is that you can connect with lots of different kinds of people. And there's a certain, there's both a stigma and a myth about being an artist, that you have to be starving, that you have to smoke and drink. All of that kind of feeds the mystique, right?
Yeah.
And, I was kind of a hippy dippy artist. I loved making paintings of people and figures. I saw a lot of modern dance at the time. There was a lot of interesting alternative art going on. And so I was inspired by my colleagues in the art world and by these incredible people I would meet, and I'd want to explore how I could represent them on paper. So that's how I started. And then kind of started working in the senior community. The seniors were also incredibly inspiring. I mean, I was less than half their age. So in most cases, I was working with like 80 years old, and I was in my 30s and 40s, and then 100-year-olds, I was in my 40s and 50s. So when you're half the age of the people that you work with, it's kind of an awakening, right? Mm-hmm. And now more and more Americans are aging past 100 and doing well. So it's kind of a crazy trajectory, right? Like,
you think about your kids and our kids and how long they're going to live. It's wild.
Yeah. And what that quality of life will look like for them.
Yeah, very true.
It's really interesting. So having the conversation with people about what is caregiving, whether it's for a young family member, a family member with special needs. We have a lot of aging adults with adult children with special needs in our area because we are a hub for kids on the spectrum of autism. And so they move here and then they stay. And then we have adult children who can't necessarily be independent. They aren't successful independently. They need support. And we're finding that then we've got these 80-year-old parents who now are needing support. So it's really complicated, right? And there's some great organizations out there that do support this situation, like the ARC of Montgomery County and SEEK, but it's new, and I don't think anybody's got exactly the right path yet, like it's not a given. So we're at Assisting Hands, we serve our entire community, whether it's an adult child or whether it's a parent or a spouse. We actually vet the caregivers and hire them. They become our employees. We pay living wages. We offer 401ks and health insurance and all that. And we can hire and fire them so the family members don't have to do that. So 99% of the time, our caregivers do an excellent job and support the families just the way the families want. We have wonderful nurses that support our caregivers. And then we have an amazing team of client care coordinators that connect with the client's family members, create schedules and training patterns and all that good stuff. So we feel really solid in our shoes. I love Steve's attitude. It's education first. We want to make sure the families know what the options are about aging well in Montgomery County. There's so many options here. We're so fortunate.
Yeah.
I have family in rural Pennsylvania, not so fortunate.
Mm-hmm.
There's one hospice. There's 3 home care companies.
Mm-hmm.
They're all booked. How do you get, how do you get attention from that? Whereas we have hundreds.
Yeah.
So we're very fortunate. And I like I said, Steve's philosophy about educating and then making sure that both our clients and our caregivers receive the best possible support from our team. And I think that really makes a difference. That gave me goosebumps.
Yeah. So, yeah. And we think, we're very much aligned in that, right? In education and making sure that people know what they're getting into and can make an empowered and informed choice as they move forward based on.
And isn't that sort of the Montgomery County way? Where most people are like Garrison Keeler used to say, above average, where your children are above average. We're all, so many people in Montgomery County are well educated. We're excellent consumers. There's a reason that we know how to bargain shop. And, that's what we're looking for. We're looking for the best possible situation for our loved ones. Right. And when it comes to that, who's going to pay for it? Right. And that's the number one hurdle we hear most is, oh, I didn't realize it's so much an hour. And we're like, well, it's, we want to give you the very best. So we're not the highest rate in the area. We're not the lowest. We're kind of in the middle. But we want to make sure that our caregivers are provided living wages and the support that they need so that they can care for their families.
Right. Yeah, 100%. Right. And it's providing folks with the ability to not worry about their family so they can worry about your family. Right. And take care of your family and know that their family's also being taken care of.
Absolutely.
So what is one piece of advice that you wish more people would understand when it comes to this area?
Start early. Get informed early. Don't wait till there's a crisis. We deal with so many families that call us. My mom's being discharged from the hospital. She fell last week. She's coming home in 3 hours. We don't know what the heck to do.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And what's amazing is that we actually can fill those cases because we are ready for that emergency. Good. Would we prefer that they call us a week ahead and say, my mom's in the hospital. She had a fall last week. Let's get the paperwork ready because we know she's going to come home and we're going to need help. Yeah. Then we can have her on our radar and we have caregivers lined up on hold. But, either way, we will help you make it through that moment. I think the biggest piece of advice is plan early and get your ducks in a row. If your family member doesn't have funds and you need to go talk to your 6 siblings to all pitch in, that has to happen way earlier. And you're going to have to talk to legal counsel about that as well, I'm sure. If you don't have a power of attorney, say that again.
Long-term care insurance, right? Planning way. But
paying way ahead for long-term care insurance helps. Making sure your advance directive is in order and your wills and your power of attorney, so important, so very important. Anybody 18 and over should have a POA and an advance directive. Am I speaking your language?
100%.
All the time.
Yeah. And, it's not hard to do. And there's people that can help like you guys. So honestly, that's my advice is plan early and really talk to your families. Now, one of the roles that I've fallen into through caregiving and home care is death and dying. So I've been certified by Montgomery Hospice as a death and dying specialist. I don't use my skills with people at end of life very often, but what I do is have the opportunity for people to talk about death and dying through what's called Death Cafe. And we meet every month and we talk about practical things about death and dying. What's a good death? How do you want your family members to process this? Or how do you process your funeral? And what's your legacy? And what's a green burial? How do you want to be buried? For so many years, and still to this day, the number one way to deal with a dead body is through cremation, but that's become such a environmentally challenged way to do it because the gas emissions are terrible. So now people are looking more into green burials and what does that mean and where can you do it? I mean, really practical stuff. That's important to do and have those conversations with your family members to say, this is what I'm thinking. I'm not feeling morose. I'm not wishing myself dead, but here's my plan so far. And if new things come up, I want you to have the empowerment to know that I'd rather go ecologically than, use up a lot of pollution.
Right. Yeah.
To process.
So that is great information. It's in death cafes, and we'll put a link to death cafes or to Patricia's death cafes when we share this, because I want to say they're a lot of fun, but that sounds wrong.
They are fun.
Interesting, right? Well, it's great to have the different perspectives.
Yes. I mean, I'd like to have Patricia back on another time and talk just about the death cafes.
Oh, we should do that.
Yeah, because
we could do that too. Because death doulas and all that, we could talk all about that.
I think that would be a whole separate episode. So
we'll do that. There you go. So last question before we sign off. What is one item that you can't live without in your day-to-day life?
Oh, that's an interesting pop question. I like it. So I think pen and paper, it's like, I still like to make drawings, and I try to do at least something every week. I don't really have as much studio time as I would like. That's for rewirement days. But I think, having access to colors and paper, I'm using paper, but right now I'm doing a little series. I was in Italy recently and loved being in the Academy in Florence and seeing all these sculptures. It was just a cacophony of visualization for me in Italy. I just was overwhelmed. So I was snapping pictures. I wasn't taking photographs. I was snapping pictures. And so now I'm using those pictures to remind me of what I saw. And I'm doing these oil pastels on cut paper bags because I had no professional materials to use in my Florida location. So it's been so fun. I did bring some real paper with me this time, but I really like working that immediacy. And so I think that's what I need is my colors and my paper bags.
Awesome. Well,
but I wanted to add, can I just add one more plug? Sure. So Who Cares as a traveling exhibit is looking for new homes. I'd like to, I offer it up. It's it can be anywhere from 30 to 50 paintings in your location, whatever that might be, a church, a synagogue, a mosque, a community center, a gallery, a restaurant, whatever folks would like to have the show. And these images behind me are from the series. So please go visit my website and look at the Who Cares series. If something interests you, they are also for sale.
Awesome. Well, we'll put all those links in the notes and in the comments for folks. So,
and you can cut away.
So thank you so much for joining us. We really enjoyed this.
Yes, I actually learned a lot about you. I've met you several times, but I didn't know all of those stories. I love it.
Yeah. And next time I'm going to have a peppermint latte if you can cook that up for me.
Sure. We'll have to figure out where you are that time.
I'm just joking. I'm totally joking. I love seeing all your cups behind you, though. That's a really clever idea.
Thanks. All right.
Well, good one.